Hi, I'm Carrie Smith.
And I'm Emma Skip, and welcome to It's a Death Sentence.
This is a podcast that takes a lighter look at the heavier things.
So, if you want some of this... So somebody could have been dead for a week and end up with you.
Or maybe longer, and somebody might have said, oh, there's a really bad smell.
A little bit of this.
I haven't got a tissue. I'll get one. You got one. And plenty of this.
So original. Fucking hell. Then this is the show for you. Because
Life,
it's a death sentence. Sounds like a zip.
Mine does that.
This is age, I think. This is what age does to us.
So, welcome back to It's a Death Sentence. Today we're joined by Dr. Emma Johnson. She is going to give us her views on life and death and everything in between. We're going to learn a little bit about her journey, and I'm going to hand straight over to you, Emma. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey and what you do? Let's firstly go down the route of education, and then we'll come back round and talk about you as a person, if that's okay.
Yeah, so I'm Emma. I'm 41 years old and I'm a clinical psychologist. I've been working in psychology and mental health for well over 10 years, 10 to 15 years. I didn't come to the sort of world of working in mental health and psychology until my mid-20s. So prior to that, I'd done all sorts really. I'd left school at the age of 16 or whenever it is that you've done your GCSEs, and did various other sort of unfulfilling jobs for me, I think, whether that was like working and doing sort of office-based work. I'd had an interesting experience as a prison officer in my early 20s.
Okay, that's interesting.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and I think that's the first time when I realised actually I'm quite good in stressful, demanding situations, relating to people, coping in that sort of demanding environment.
So were you an officer?
Yes.
Okay.
In a male category B prison.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So you can also rough them up if you need to.
Don't get on the wrong side of Dr. Johnson is what we've learned so far. My God.
Yeah, and I actually found that a really enjoyable job. It was just a bit dangerous. It just wasn't, it was a private prison, and I don't think it was particularly safe. And so then I left there. I decided to get a diploma in personal training and start to look after myself a bit. I sort of enjoyed the kind of party lifestyle for quite a few years.
Didn't we all?
Yes. And thought, right, what can I do? What would I enjoy doing that would sort of benefit me, and then in terms of like my health and stuff, and also try and make a living out of it. And so I did that. I did personal training, was working in sort of management in gyms. And then a conversation with our dear Emma one day in my mid-20s about the potential to go to university cropped up, and I looked into it. And then I found myself suddenly at university at the age of 25, and my whole life changed into a different direction then.
Amazing.
That was amazing.
What did you study at uni? What was your first study that you did?
I did a joint, like a combined honours, so psychology and creative and professional writing. I was accepted onto the creative and professional writing, but the psychology course said, no, you don't have any A-levels, you don't, no, basically. Yeah. And it was the days before you just like bopped off an email to someone. I actually wrote a letter about why they should reconsider in the life experience I've got. And I got a call from somebody on the course to say, I really liked your letter, we can offer you a place on the course.
Writing them a letter, as it was then, obviously did exactly what you needed it to do, because they went, on paper, this girl is exactly the kind of candidate we want.
Yeah.
And also that not most people would do that. Like 95% of people would just go, oh, I didn't get it. But that 5% of people that go that extra mile, then obviously get where they need to be.
Yeah.
So tell us then, so you've got that degree, you've done that tick. What was next?
Yeah, I finished then with my degree in psychology, and during that time I'd started to get experience because I knew about this sort of competitive process. I was thinking what I needed to do to strengthen my application in the long run. And I was working as a support worker for people with learning disabilities, sort of supporting them in their home environments in the community. I really enjoyed that work. I did that for a couple of years, and then once I'd got my degree, I worked as a project worker in an alcohol rehabilitation service.
Wow.
And that was a really great experience because I was involved in key working clients, delivering like group therapy, doing psychoeducation around I guess emotions, alcohol or stuff like that, and that stood me in quite good stead then for other work I've done therapeutically. And then I did my master's in clinical applications of psychology. I was able to defer that for a year because I'd got this other role.
Is your CV like about 15 pages long?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Just like that, just getting my CV out the car, hang on, slings it over her shoulder, I'm ready. It's impressive, Em.
Yeah, very impressive.
So then you got your master's.
Yeah, I got my master's, and part of that role, there was like why I'd been attracted to that master's is because there was a 6-month sort of clinical placement within it, where I worked for a family psychology service. I got a job down then at a psychiatric hospital down in Somerset, and that was working on locked wards, including like male psychiatric intensive care unit, male acute, female personality disorder, low secure. There was a lot of work doing psychoeducation again around drugs and drug-induced psychosis and people's experience of hearing voices.
That must have been an absolutely wild experience.
Yeah.
I'm just going to step in there, but that must be what an eye-opener.
Yeah, it was.
In the same way when I was here to Carrie, you know, like you have got this insight into this other world of things that people don't get to. That's another whole subject. You could probably do a whole podcast on that alone.
Yeah, and I think because I was used to working sort of in a locked environment in the prison, it didn't surprise me too much. So it didn't feel too unfamiliar. I enjoyed that role. There were difficult times. I remember a young woman on the personality disorder unit had ended her life when she'd been given leave. And I remember like how much that had sort of impacted me at the time.
Because you can't help but make a relationship with the people you're working with.
Exactly.
So it has a personal connotation, doesn't it?
Yeah, and my work would sometimes be like reading their backgrounds, you know, formulating. What we do in psychology, we say like part of our work is assessing, and then we'll do a bit of work where we formulate. We try and understand somebody's difficulties, usually with them, create an understanding of what might be keeping the difficulties going and stuff, and then we'll typically do an intervention. So if I'm saying formulating, that's what I mean. So I've been going through her stuff and sort of formulating, and yeah, she ended her life, and it's difficult. It's a difficult thing to...
Was that the first person in your professional capacity to have done that then?
In psychology, yes, but I also knew people from my time in the prison. Someone had ended their life while I was working there then too.
Okay.
So that was kind of a professional context, but yeah, it felt...
But then I imagine when you were at the prison, you were a lot younger and you weren't as educated in psychology, were you?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
How you would have dealt with it then and how you dealt with it after. I mean,
yeah.
However you look at it, it's always a loss and it's always shocking, but
Yeah.
you probably had more in your toolkit the second time round, did you?
Yeah.
But also you probably knew more about the background of the individual. You know, in the prison maybe you don't get all the background information, do you? That you know they're there, but you don't necessarily find out why they feel the way they do.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm assuming the lady that you lost, you sort of had all of her information.
Yeah.
You feel a bit more invested in it, don't you? So
I used to avoid reading people's notes in the prison because I didn't want it to skew my relationship with them. I wanted to take this person, meet them where they're at. Some you would hear, there'd almost be like a notoriety around an individual, so you couldn't help but know some stuff. But even then, I'd just try and build a rapport with someone.
that's very good. That's very good.
It's admirable, I think. I think most people on some level, whether we want to say it or not, if we're reading that somebody's done something really, some heinous crime, then...
It's difficult to be objective, isn't it?
Very difficult. I think they would think we can be. Where are we up to date now? So are we...
So I was at working... then in my personal life had met someone and decided to go and spend a couple of months in Spain. and that turned into 2 years living out there.
So this is post-master's degree?
Post-master's, yeah.
Prior to the doctorate?
Post-master's, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I came back to an NHS post then, so that was my first experience up where, because again, I've mentioned it's very competitive to get into clinical psychology, and it looks good if you've got NHS experience. And I got a job working in what was then IAPT, so improving access to psychological therapies. I ended up seeing a PhD opportunity on the Spanish job site and applied to it. And about 3 months later, I got a message, an email saying, "How did you find us? This job is still actually going, but can we have a Skype interview? We like your CV." And then I ended up moving to Sevilla for a different experience, because I'd been up near Barcelona the first time. It was quite a Catalan experience. So then I moved to the south of Spain, was there for a few years, and then came back.
Gosh, how awful for you to have to keep coming back. Every time you were there, you were like, this is really great. And now doing the career you want to be doing, living in a beautiful place, and then you've ended up coming back. So tell us how you ended up coming back to the UK the last time then.
So the PhD I was doing was looking at emotional abilities, emotional intelligence, and sort of within Latin American populations. My long-term goal was always to get to clinical psychology, and I felt by that point I'd got 2 years of PhD research experience under my belt. I was like, I think that's enough. As much as it pains me to leave again, I think it's time to go back to the UK. So I'd got a job then at Oxford Children's Hospital in a research post. Was in that role, had started in the December of 2019. Was in that role for about 3 months before the pandemic hit. And all NHS research got pulled unless it was to do with COVID. Got another assistant psychologist post then in another clinical health role, but this one again was in during the pandemic and was focused on supporting managers to support their team's well-being, because I'm sure you'll be aware, but the impact of COVID on the healthcare workers was enormous. The levels of burnout and stress and difficulties arising from that. So because you can't access every single person individually.
Carrie, you must have worked.
Yes, I worked through. Yeah,
were you nursing then?
I worked in day surgery then. So surgery was cancelled because it was elective, and then we were pushed out into the COVID programme basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do.
So
I remember very well. Yeah, and then just at the end of the pandemic, that's when I started working in the mortuary.
So I think for our listeners, it's really important that we've gone down this journey with Dr. Johnson. I'm going to call you that from now on, or our friend Lem, because her journey has been so long, so interesting, and we have a set of questions that we ask for our podcast, and I think it's probably the right time now to launch into that. But without our listeners having experienced your background, it wouldn't be quite right. Do you know what I mean, Carrie? I think we needed to have all of that information in place, because that wealth of knowledge that you've got will be so impactful on the questions that we ask you. Straight in, Emma, what is the first thing that you think about when you think about death?
It's really hard to articulate. It's an eternal nothingness. It gives me a lot of anxiety, actually.
A personal anxiety?
Yeah. I think of death and I just think of the permanence of nothingness. And so I should say that I'm atheist. I respect other people's views and stuff. But for me, it doesn't make sense. So I find it hard to not think of that sort of mindset when I think of
the permanence of nothingness, is that what you've just said?
Yeah.
It sounds like an album title. It's brilliant. But don't you ever look at it from the point of view of, before you were born, there was nothingness there as well?
But there wasn't, was there? Because there was always going to be the being. If you're looking at it like in a linear way, because people often say that, like there was nothing before, but it was always getting to the point of there then being something.
But you don't know what's next, so how do you know that's not the start of the next thing?
Yeah. And I agree, I'm open to other people's views, but I don't think they'll change mine. I've tried. I wish I could try. I mean, I would love to.
Have you always felt like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I became aware of that feeling around the age of probably about 7 or 8. Yeah.
Was there anything that triggered it? Anything that happened?
I don't know if it wasn't when my cat had died, because people were saying, it's okay, she'll be in heaven now. And I remember thinking, no, she won't. And so I went to a Church of England school, and we would have a vicar come weekly, would do hymns and things. But as much as I liked singing the hymns, and I liked the stories, I didn't believe them. I mean, I have a theory. So it would be remiss of me as a psychologist not to formulate myself and why I think like this, and I do have theories, but they sort of started around that age, and then there's been sort of things in my life that have happened when it's come into the foreground. And around that age, actually, I also developed a fear of flying. I mean, I didn't like it from the age of about 4. I remember my first experience of it, but there are parallels between the fear of death and the fear of flying for me.
Okay, very
So
interesting.
you fear them both equally?
Not equally. I think the flying one is kind of symbolic of
Do
what I
you,
feel
do you
about
still
death.
feel like that about flying, having learned your journey recently? There's quite a lot of flying involved.
Yeah.
I mean, are you all right with
I
it
had
now?
to confront it, you know. I'd avoided flying from my mid-teens until my early 20s. And the fear had got worse and worse, and to the point where I was, you know, it had become like a phobia. I was dreaming about it, and if it plane or the sound came on the TV and stuff, it would give me anxiety. And I was like, I need to get this addressed. So I'd been to the doctors about it. I had a quick session of hypnosis, which was incredible. I can't really explain why, especially my science brain, but that really helped. Mm. And then I was just prescribed diazepam stuff to manage it going forwards, propranolol and diazepam. So I used to, take
everyone's
a lot.
locker.
Yeah.
That little wonder drug.
Now, just from exposure, I'm
Okay.
better, and I do practice like breathing techniques, manage my anxiety and stuff, so I can handle it now.
But a fear of death you can't practice because you've only got one shot at that,
Exactly.
really. So don't try and practice that.
So your first experience, you said, of death was probably your cat.
Yeah.
Was that the first sort of loss you had? Did you have any significant losses after that?
Yeah, that was the first one where I experienced grief, I think. So it would have been like my nan's mum, like grandma, but I didn't have that closeness to her, so I didn't really experience the grief around it. And there'd been older family members. But the next one would have been when I was around 18 or 19, and my nan passed away, my dad's mum, and I was there when she passed away. It was expected. She'd been unwell. She was quite old, maybe early 80s. And then my mum around that same time had breast cancer. She survived, but it was very close. And so death felt like it was looming a bit. I tried to avoid it as much as possible. I didn't cope very well then. And I think I sort of avoided. My next one then would probably have been my dad, and that has been much later in life. So that was...
And that's quite recent, really.
Yeah, that was... so when I'd come back to the UK and working in that role, in the COVID role, just as the pandemic had hit, he was diagnosed with terminal mouth and head neck cancer. So he passed away then in the November of that year. So that was probably the most visceral experience of death, because he came to live with me for the last few months of his life.
So you nursed him here in your home?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a big thing to take on.
Yeah.
Really big thing to take on.
How did you cope with that at the time? With your anxiety around death anyway?
It's funny because the death anxiety isn't always there. It crops up, and I can explain a little bit more about it in a minute, but seeing him dying, I think all that was at the forefront of my mind, and my sister's fantastic, and she is a paediatric nurse, and she would come over and help me with his peg feeds and stuff, and we would together. I think a big part of getting through that was my sister being there with me and just going through this together, and my supportive mum and stepdad. But it was just trying to make the last months of his life as dignified as possible and filled with as much love as possible. You know, it's being on that journey with someone.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did you manage to use any laughter?
Yeah, my dad's was a hilarious man. That's one of the things I loved most about him.
Carrie and I have just recorded an episode about using humour in grief.
Yeah.
And as a psychologist, I'm pretty sure that you'll know all about that kind of thing. But I wondered, with it being a personal experience to you, whether you were able to use that as a tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so important. So yeah, he'd passed away, and then sadly my nan, who I was very close to, my mum's mum, she passed away then 2 years later, around the Christmas time again. So that has been sort of my last experience of death. And I was stood alongside both my first nan, my dad and my nan as they passed, you know, sort of watched them die, be with them in those last moments, which, you know, is a privilege but also terribly painful.
And were they quite different experiences, or were they similar? Because we were talking about 3 people who were all very poorly.
Yeah. My nan had actually had a fall, and I don't know if it really was her time then, but she was in poor health.
Okay.
So it wasn't like a huge shock, but
Yeah.
I think we were all a bit surprised of how quick there'd been a deterioration. So there wasn't like a mental processing of what was happening. It happened quite quickly. Yeah. Whereas my dad and my nan, we sort of knew that was going to be coming. You sort of mentally prepare almost.
So you touched on it earlier. You self-professed atheist.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have established you have a fear around death as well, so, you know, answer however you want to, or tell us to sod off. But what do you think happens when you die?
I think you cease to exist in every way. I don't think your spirit or energy carries on. I think simply you disappear into the ground and your cells are used in some other way. You know, whether you're grass or something.
Okay. So very circle of life.
Yeah.
Okay, but you don't have any feelings on the soul or spirit or anything like that?
No, because I don't think humans would be there's a lot of talk in religion and stuff that, you know, there's a place where humans go. But I think, well, why wouldn't every single living being somehow be in this other place? Which I think is the energy part. So if it was like humans there, why wouldn't there be absolutely everything? And if that was the case, so many humans have lived, it's going to be really bloody crowded. Where would you fit them all?
It's a very good place.
Well, that's brilliant, that is. Yeah. Just a giant
Just
other realm.
I don't like, you know, overly busy crowds.
Yeah.
You know, it's chaotic. Imagine.
I don't want to queue for things when I'm in heaven.
Suit my agenda in any way at all.
Oh, bless you. Do you think that, you said that you don't think there's anything like a spirit, but when your dad passed, and we touched on it, that, you know, you say he was very funny.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think that people live on in us in other ways? Do you feel that's like part of his spirit or his soul, like living on?
His memory, maybe. And, you know, somebody's influence and impact, yes. But not like a ethereal spirit in any sort of sense that he lives on.
Did you ever feel like that, or has that come about more since you've gone down this incredibly academic journey?
Or did I go through the academic journey because I think like this?
Yeah, I mean, which was it, chicken or egg? You know, which one came first?
Exactly. Yeah,
I mean, have you ever?
I've always wished I could believe in something else. I mean, I've taken it to therapy. I've had some therapy. After my dad passed, the death anxiety had sort of, it's like having a flare-up of it. And I remember taking my niece swimming, and when you're swimming, there's a clock where the second hand doesn't really tick; it just swipes around. And all I could think about was like every time it was moved, I'm just like hurtling towards death myself and towards nothingness. So I took it to therapy, like a good psychologist. I need some help with this, please. And I had some cognitive behaviour therapy stuff. And actually, what we worked on was, sorry, I'm moving a little bit away from the question.
That's okay.
What we worked on was an experience I'd had that parallels again a bit like my fear of flying, the fear of death. And I'd been in a car accident when I was younger in Ibiza with my mum, her partner at the time, and my sister. It'd been really frightening, and I'd been left on my own in a hospital room for what felt like an eternity of nothing. When we did some rescripting around that, because my sister had sustained quite an injury to her face, and my mum had been taken away with her for it, but I just remember this, I'm just left on my, I'm just abandoned, there's just nothing. And we tapped into this and did what we call rescripting, went over the trauma, updated the memory, and it actually resolved some of my anxiety about death.
Interesting.
And when I say about the fear of flying, I think this is where my dreams used to come into it. I used to dream that I was in a plane, the plane has taken off, and once I'm off, I cannot get off. I'm stuck. Like, that's it now, you're in the plane, and that's life for me. Like, you cannot get off. And so if I'm having a flare-up where it's like particularly difficult, the death anxiety, it's the thing like, I can't stop it, I can't stop the ride, I don't like fast rides either. Now, as the psychologist bit, when I do the formulating, I can see that there was a lot of adverse experiences growing up, a lot of instability, and times when I was quite frightened as a kid, quite worried for people in my life. And I think that need for control, sometimes uncertainty, and not having that mean that some of my anxiety has got spread into fear of flying, fear of death, and stuff like that. So I can kind of understand why I've got it. I just can't bloody stop it.
Well, no good psychologist.
If you can't do it, then nobody can. So
We're all doomed.
As far as I know you don't believe in spirits or anything like that, but have you ever had an experience with any mediums or people who say they can?
No, because I just think it's nonsense. I think they're like your Darren Browns that are very good at reading people. But also, I wouldn't say this this is because you're asking me. If I'm working with people that have different beliefs to me, first of all, I don't normally, as a psychologist, share my own views unless I can really think about why it might be useful, which is almost never. But I wouldn't want to take away someone's beliefs from them, right? I'm saying this just because you're asking me very directly.
This is about you. This is what we want to know, how you feel about it.
Yeah, I just think, no, you're just good at reading people, and some people are incredibly well-versed in reading people.
Darren Brown is an excellent example, because he even did a programme on it, didn't he, about how you can read somebody's facial expression and sort of get very far with that.
Yeah.
And if you get very clever at that, you know, essentially you could, if people are vulnerable and they want to know something or go to somebody to speak to somebody they've, you know, lost.
They search for the answers,
licking,
don't they?
it's my dog near the microphone. I've just realised he's sat here.
She's not. She's licking her
chops.
lip.
Got really into this bit of the podcast. Lovely.
Yeah, I think, you know, people that go to those things, they're often looking for answers, and if people are accurate in reading them, then they can easily, you know, indirectly give out cues, and then, you know, that gives them a line to continue the questioning. But you've never had an experience where somebody has said to you, you know, that you never experienced it yourself.
No, when I wouldn't seek out that, and I think that it's a crippling anxiety for the humans, like to comprehend. Like we are aware of our own mortality, and it's such a burden to bear. I think that it would be much. It's a relief. It's some comfort to believe that it isn't the end. So I get why people would seek out these people, and why people might offer that service as well, whether consciously or sort of subconsciously do that. But for me, I just know it would provide no comfort. I just think, well, what a load of nonsense, and then, but nobody's sort of caught me off guard and said something that has made me change my mind so far.
I mean, there's no spirits knocking about with you today, is there?
No, I've left them all at
home. God forbid it was all to end tomorrow. Is there anything that you could think of that you would have liked? I mean, God, you've achieved an awful lot. You really have. But, you know, if you were given a death sentence of any description, you know, that you've got X amount of time to live, what are the things that you would like to achieve still, or would like to experience still?
This death anxiety is a blessing and a curse, because I live as if, you know, there's not going to be anything else after this, but there might not be a tomorrow. So I don't think there's anything I'd change. You know, I have beautiful people in my life, and I connect with nature and try and live a good life. That's a bit of a philosophical question, but I try to. And so I don't put off things. Within reason, I try to live the best and do the best I can on a day-to-day basis, however sort of trivial it might seem.
That sounds great.
It really does.
Everyone should live like that.
Yeah, I mean, wow.
It wakes me up at night, but there's a cost to it.
Don't wish death anxiety on anyone, but really, you've really got that nailed. Well done.
Have you thought about your funeral at all? So when it's your time, have you got any plans in place or anything you'd want?
Yeah, I'd want it like a celebrant. I think, for it to be a time for reflection, but also warmth and thinking of my nieces, and depends when I go, but I haven't got my own children, so it would be having my nieces, and if they've got children around, and friends, I hope that there would be friends there. And
have you made a will?
I haven't, but I've made a playlist.
I mean that's you do need a playlist.
Yeah.
That's as far as I got. No, I need to do a will. I do need to do one.
Well, buried or cremated?
Cremated, I think.
Yeah.
And have you got a special place that you'd like to be scattered, or are you happy for your family to choose, or what would you?
I think I would like some of my ashes in England and in Spain, and as I say, depending when I go, if my nieces are able, I would like them to walk some of the Camino routes in Spain, doing that, because that was a huge spiritual awakening for me, walking the routes of the caminodesantiago. But anywhere in Spain, really, in a tapas bar in Alicante.
It's not in the tapas. It's just disgusting, Emma. Yeah.
Finish off with a nice glass of red wine. Yeah.
But, yeah.
That sounds beautiful, though. That sounds really nice. At least you've thought about sort of, what you would want.
Yeah.
Have you voiced that to anyone, or?
No, not yet.
Not
so
yet.
I'm screwed if I go tomorrow.
Well, we'll play them this.
Yeah, there we go. It's on record now.
Yeah. Get that will done.
I already know the answer to this question before I even ask you. If you could find out when you were going to die, would you want to know?
You think you know? Okay, you tell me. Do you think I would want to know?
I think you wouldn't want to know, because you live like...
Oh, I think she wants to know.
I'm quite torn. It would be helpful because I would probably prioritise certain things, but also... I don't know, because I already know we're going to go. We
have actually got the Grim Reaper in the car, so we can
Welcome
go.
Everybody, this is the Grim Reaper.
Because I suppose in one aspect you could think, well, that could relieve the anxiety, because at least you've got a date, definitive date.
Actually, I was at one of the mop fairs once, and an old traveller lady said to me, she looked at my palm and said, "You'll live to 98," but she also told me I'd have a husband and 2 kids. So.
Sorry. Yes, that was a big old.
I mean, how long ago was that?
There's still time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, if it would be nice if someone's like, "Yeah, you'll be 98," but if they say, "No, I'm sorry, it's next week,"
yeah, you've got 6 weeks. Yeah,
bit of a wounder.
Yeah, I guess I would
probably enough to ruin your week.
Yeah.
Well, it's been lovely talking to you. I mean, there's probably so much more we could talk about, but
it's been a fascinating interview.
Yeah,
it's been lovely learning about your whole journey.
It is such a comfort to be having these conversations, because I felt very much like I've been alone with a lot of this, and so I've really welcomed your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
And I think, I imagine other people would, if they do have that anxiety, that we make it less taboo, that we have these conversations.
It's exactly where we're trying to go with it, isn't it, Carrie?
Absolutely.
We just want people talking,
yeah,
and know that it's okay to. It's not always just death and sadness and grim and morose. It's not. You can laugh about it. It's part of life. It's inevitable, and we need to talk about it.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you, dear listeners. If you've enjoyed our show, then please do all the stuff that will help promote us.
Like and share our podcast, and follow us on socials, and please subscribe too. If you've got any feedback, it's most welcome, so please contact us.
Likewise, if there's a subject you'd like us to cover, please do get in touch, and thank you for your support.
We are dying to talk to you.